Anthony Accatatta, shipfitter, second class. After 2 years out of Newport, we were sent into a program that was called FRAM, Fleet Rehabilitation and Modernization. And it was a program to extend the lives of these destroyers. My ship was built in 1945, right at the end of the war. It didn't see World War II service because it was commissioned, like I said, at the end of the war. And so it was seeing its age. We went into the Brooklyn Navy Yard for this program, and they completely stripped the deck house off the ship. Much of it was aluminum, some of it was steel, and very highly corroded because the years of service at sea. They completely built a new deck house, including a helicopter hangar, and for drone helicopters. A lot of people think drones are something brand new, but we were equipped to carry a drone back in 1962. And the drones, there were two different types. People that visit ships can go aboard the USS Kennedy DD-850 in Fall River, Massachusetts, and they have two of the drones in their hangar. The one was a drone that would carry an anti-submarine torpedo, and the other type was a surveillance that would carry a camera that could be launched and then pick up intelligence by flying off into the distance well beyond the ship. So that, we were there probably about 6 months. And I was lucky enough, most of the crew was sent to other locations. They did keep a skeleton crew on board that would take care of things for the people that were working on the ship from the shipyard and would learn the systems that were going in. That way there would be a continuity once the new crew came on board. And that was a good time also because I was able to get home every couple of weekends. And also in my spare time there I was able to hang around the welding shop where they instructed their welders in various new processes. And I enjoyed that, and because of that I learned a process that after I got out of the Navy they were hiring for that very same process for high tensile strength steel, and you had to go over and take a welding test for this, and these welds would be x-rayed. They would also be stress tested where they would bend them, and they would have to bend without breaking. So when I took that test, it was like a layup. I passed it because I had already been qualified in that type of welding. Several days before we were to leave, we were going down to Mayport, Florida. That was going to be our new home port. And when we brought the ship into Brooklyn, the first thing we had to do was offload all of the portable equipment, the firefighting equipment, the damage control equipment, portable pumps, anything like that that could walk away. And there were these, I think they were like 5-story warehouses where you would store them, and they had these huge elevators almost the size of this part of the room. And we didn't think too much of it. We offloaded the stuff. It took several days to do it. And we were going to order some new damage control equipment. And we would, excuse me, we would retrieve the equipment that we had stored. So 2 days before we are to leave, we didn't get our new equipment. And we were told, go over to the warehouse and retrieve the equipment that we stored. And that should be enough to get us to sea and protect us when we're at sea. We go over there and the warehouse is empty. Somebody got to it and we never found out who. But we said, what do we do now? We don't have any damage control equipment. There's no fire pumps. We didn't have any gasoline containers. It was no portable fire extinguishers. And I go back and report, and they said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I think I have an idea. So at that time, a first class was brought on board because we were ready to leave, and he was now in charge of the shop. I went to see him, and he used to be the Admiral's driver in Brooklyn. He called up the Admiral's driver. He says, can you get us a truck, and can you get us some gasoline? And the guy said, sure. Go over to the gas pumps. I'm going to give you a card. We're going to charge it to the Admiral, and you'll get all the gasoline you need. So we did that. There was also a barracks ship there that is basically a barge with a bunch of barracks built on it. And I said, I'm going to go over there and see what I can glom off of that ship. So we take the truck, we go over there. I go over with about a half a dozen men, and there's a guy on duty there that was on guard duty. And so I go up to him and I said, are you the guy that's going to help us? And he says, help you what? I said, we got to strip these damage control lockers in here of their equipment. And we were told that you were going to help us. He says, no, I'm on guard duty here. He says, you guys go do your thing. I'm not going to get involved in that. So we go, and we go with bolt cutters. We cut the locks on both of the damage control lockers, and we strip it clean. And we load up the truck, go back to the ship, and now we have about half of the stuff that we need. And we need oxygen and acetylene for welding and cutting on the ship. We had none of that either. So I send the guy, I said, go get some 5-gallon cans of coffee, go over to the welding shop, and trade at the welding shop for acetylene and oxygen. So about a half hour later, they had these giant cranes that run on railroad tracks in the yards. And I hear this crane coming down the roadway. Ding, 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 ding. And it's got two big baskets with oxygen cylinders in one, acetylene cylinders in the other. And here's my man riding alongside of the crane on a bicycle. And this is a bicycle that the yard personnel use to get around because it's such a big place. So they swing the oxygen and acetylene on the ship, and we pull it out of the baskets. He's coming up the gangway with this bicycle. And I said, what are you going to do with that? Where'd you get that? He said it was part of the trade. We traded the coffee, the bicycle was part of the trade. I said, we had no place to store that. He says, don't worry about it. I'm going to put it in a void that's under the shop, which is an empty compartment that's just there as like a double bottom on the ship. So I go down into the shop, and he's there with a hacksaw cutting it in half because the access to this thing was only about this big. And I says, what are you going to do after that? He says, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. So the first port we hit, we actually hit Jamaica before we got to Mayport. We hit Jamaica, and there were people, the natives were selling different trinkets and stuff. And they were selling these, I think they were cow horns, but they were made into the shape of fishes and birds. And he says, I'm going to go get some of those. He takes 2 pipe unions and welds it to the bicycle and then tightens them up, and the bicycle is now whole. And he takes it and he goes and he winds up bartering this for these different souvenirs.